PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. Well, here we are. It's another week, another Wednesday. So time again for another episode of Holy Snokes, Star Wars podcast here on the PLD Projects Network. I am your host, PLD. With me, as always, my Wookiee sidekick, Matty Gunner. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. I love that I have become the Wookiee sidekick.
With all that hair, I mean, how can you be anything else?
It's the fact that I have long hair, I make loud noises, I can rip your arms off.
It all just adds up, so...
It adds up. I'm doing good, thanks, man. Wednesdays, I was saying this to a friend of mine the other day. Wednesdays is the only day I don't sleep through my alarm. Every other day, that snooze button can catch these hands. But Wednesdays, I'm up, I'm alert, I'm awake, and I'm ready for Star Wars.
Absolutely. And for at least the foreseeable month, we get both Mandalorian and Bad Batch. And that's what we're going to do today. I mean, we know we talked about doing 2 episodes a week and trying to cover them both and give them both their due. Scheduling hasn't quite worked out for us that way. You saw that thumbnail today. We are going to be covering both the Mandalorian episode and the Bad Batch episode today. We will give them both their due, though. I promise you that. I have been in love watching both these shows at the same time. It's going to be a little sad when the Bad Batch ends. We only have only have Mandalorian to watch, but it's been a fun.
We are so starved.
I know, right? It's seriously like the more Star Wars, the better. I mean, is there a part of me that wouldn't mind having Bad Batch on Friday, for example? I mean, like that. But we will deal, and we'll get some love out of it for sure. So these were 2 very interesting episodes. I have not checked the discourse online like I usually do. Sometimes I'm a glutton for punishment and I want to read what other people have to say. And sometimes it gets me riled up, and sometimes it makes me happy, depending on what part of the social media platforms I go to. Obviously, some are like the Mos Eisley Cantina, homes of scum and villainy, and some are like Pabu, a very nice place full of happy refugees.
That place, that was like the Maldives in Star Wars.
Yes.
Oh my God. I at that, or like Monaco, the Star Wars version of Monaco. Like I could retire there and just just disappear.
It's worth it for the occasional tropical storm or whatever. It's worth it, given how beautiful and how relaxing that did seem. But we will get there, of course. Every episode of Holy Snokes, we do like to open up with some news bits as
Before we begin with the news, sorry, I do have to run a quick audible here. I did tell them I would give them a shout out on this podcast. They are not a paid sponsor, but shout out to Treat Kitchen here in the UK. They do these awesome chocolate. I don't know if you guys can see that very well. Yeah. Chocolate Stormtrooper head.
Oh, that is yummy looking, my friend.
It looks almost too good to eat.
Almost too good to eat. Almost. You will. Yeah. I think that is one bit of merchandise you really can't let sit on the shelf for too long. I think it would be bad to just not have that open up and eating it, right? I couldn't do that.
I'm not actively competing anymore. I don't have to cut weight.
There you go, my friend. There you go. Alrighty, there we have it. But we're going to go into we have bits of news we like to curate from Star Wars News Net. I really always push them as my source because I do like how they curate their own news. They give it to us straight. They usually cut the rumor from the actual fact, or at least give you the degree of how much it is. I always believe what I read there. I at least believe that it's being discussed as they say it is. A couple of cool announcements that were made, or little stories they did post. We'll start with my first piece of news. It's in the novel side of things. We did get an announcement finally. We knew it was coming from a certain point of view Return of the Jedi was announced. Finally, obviously, we had from a certain point of view from A New Hope, an Empire Strikes Back at the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. It made sense, and I would have been disappointed if we didn't get a short story collection from this format. Had some great things. I want to highlight a few of them if they're shouted out. We're going to get a tale of Olivia Blake giving us a chilling glimpse into the mind of Emperor Palpatine. Right away, I'm sold. Saladin Ahmed recounting the tragic history of the Rancor Keeper. Charlie Jane Anders explores the life and times of the Sarlacc. Fran Wilde revealing Mon Mothma's secret mission to save the Rebel Alliance. That one really intrigues me. Mary Kenny chronicling Wicket, the Ewoks' quest for one quiet day on the Forest of Endor.
Yes.
And probably the one I'm looking forward to the most, Anakin Skywalker becoming one with the Force in a gripping tale by Mike Chen, who, of course, wrote Brotherhood recently. Yes. There's a lot of cool stories there. Now, the short stories have always been kind of hit or miss for me. Some of them are really great, some of them are not. And I do note that I heard this on Forest Center, so I want to give proper credit to Joseph Scrimshaw. He says a lot of times you find out that you just feel bad for every animal that makes an appearance because they always get the whole story and some kind of tragic tale going on. And that seems to be the case. So I think we're going to find out that the Sarlacc is really a tragic character at some point. We're going to find that out. But for me, it's all about Anakin and the Anakin become one of the Force, because that's been a long time speculation from fans as to how exactly that happened. Because, obviously he didn't get trained, as far as we know, from Yoda and Qui-Gon at that point. He went dark side. So what exactly happened? How did that work out? I hope we're going to see that, and hopefully it'll be satisfactory to some people. I did like Mike Chen's writing Brotherhood, so that should be a good indication that hopefully I will enjoy this story. What about you? What sticks out to you?
I mean, obviously the Wicket one. I agree with you about the Sarlacc one. When you title something "The Life and Times of," that's either usually an autobiography or a post-mortem book that's been written. The Life and Times. I kind of, maybe it's because I am the dark sider on this show, but that Palpatine one, like a look into his mind. What is he always like as confident as he betrays? Because we know him to have the man contingency plan on contingency plan on contingency plan. What happens when those contingency plans start to go to shit? Like, does he keep his cool?
That's a good call. I mean, we don't have many canon storylines now where we get inside the head of Palpatine, so that's definitely an intriguing tale for sure. The other one I really wanted to highlight that they mentioned specifically was the Mon Mothma one, because Mon Mothma's secret mission to save the Rebel Alliance. That is intriguing to me. Mon Mothma was a character that never really got much due in Legends per se, as far as obviously she had a little bit piece for Return of the Jedi. We had some bits of the stuff for the New Republic, but her during the Clone Wars and during the Civil War, we never got really much about her. But now with the new canon, she's been in Rogue One, she's in Andor, so we're getting a more complete character. So other entry into that aspect of things, that could be very intriguing to me.
I hope it is a mission to file divorce papers from parents.
That would save the Rebel Alliance, wouldn't it?
Because parent sucks.
Very nice, very nice. I think by then she must be gone from him. I would think by Return of the Jedi.
They might be separated, but I don't know if she actually filed the papers.
That's a good point. Maybe we will see her family. Maybe we will see her daughter. Although I kind of have the feeling we're going to shy away from that, because that would spoil Andor season 2 potentially. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see about that. Well, all righty. Let's move on then to our next bit of news, or next bit of piece.
I like next bit of piece.
next bit of piece. Sometimes my mouth moves faster than my mind, or the other way around, and it becomes a thing. Either way, we got an article about Bob Iger stating basically the next Star Wars movie must be the right one. A couple quotes from Bob Iger regarding this. He said, "I'm really pleased that the support that I'm getting from the content creators of the company is significant and real, and it comes in the form of reducing the expense per content, whether it's a TV series or a film, where costs have just skyrocketed in a huge way and not a supportable way, in my opinion. They all agree to that, understanding how much volume we need, reducing how much we make. So it's how much we spend on what we make and how much we make. He then goes on to specify Star Wars specifically. Star Wars, we made 3 what we called saga films, which is obviously the successors to George Lucas's first 6. They did very well at the box office, tremendously well, as a matter of fact. We made 2 so-called standalones in Rogue One and Solo. Rogue One did quite well. Solo was a little disappointing to us. It gave us pause. I think maybe the cadence was just a little too aggressive. And so we decided to pull it back a bit. We still are developing Star Wars films. We're going to make sure that when we make one, that it's the right one. So we are being very careful there. There's a lot to unpack here. I think the first thing I want to touch base on is I hate the press, generally speaking. I found that a lot of times we've devolved into this like clickbaity articles, and it's just about getting anything negative that's taken out of context. I saw so many sites and so many clickbaiters run with that Solo was disappointing to us. Specifically, he meant the box office at the time, and he blamed himself for it later. As another quote, he blamed himself for pushing it too soon, and they made it out like they were disappointed with the content of Solo. They were not disappointed with the content of Solo. They were disappointed with how it was received, and they changed their mind on how they were going to showcase things as well. That makes sense to me. The fact that they don't like Solo does not. So that's my first take off the day. What do you have to say about it?
I mean, I just looked up how much Solo made, right?
Right.
Nearly $400 million. That's a disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
You made nearly $500 million, and that's a disappointment.
In Star Wars land, I guess it is.
Bobby Iger, if you're listening, if you're watching this, look me in the eyes. Look at me. The right Star Wars movie is any Star Wars movie. I'm speaking right directly to you now, Daddy Iger. Any Star Wars movie. I do not care what it is. I have waited long enough. Give it to me.
It's funny you say that. I'm going to actually turn a little bit and say I agree. I actually like what Iger's doing. I really do. Because first of all, he is saying a lot of times that they have made too much, not just in Star Wars, just talk about the TV series overall. I actually like the idea of let's cut back just a smidge and pool that money together into and instead of having 2 or 3 smaller projects or cheaper projects, take that money, make one really solid, really strong product. And I like the fact that he's actually taking his time this time. This is the good side of the term making a plan. That making a plan thing has been tossed about throughout this community for so long because the sequel trilogy supposedly didn't have a plan. I mean, if you know anything about Star Wars, George Lucas didn't really have a full plan. You have to be able to take as the characters take you, take the story as the characters take you. But having a plan in terms of business-wise does make sense. That's the difference between things. You have to know when you're going to make things, how you're going to release them, and what you want to work on when, so that you don't fall into this hole of, well, I got to cover this there, this, that. No, make it sure this is going to be done here. This is going to be done here. We're going to take our time here, make sure we got the right product, the right team in place, so we go forward. That's what we need, and I think Iger is the guy to do it, to get those balls rolling. So I'm very happy with everything he said here. Do I want 1 million Star Wars shows? Yes. Do I want 1 million Star Wars movies? Yes. But I understand how things work, and I would prefer to have them done right, done well, and even if it's a little bit of time in between things, we get the job done.
Yeah, that's fair. Take your time, use the money, but I don't care what it's about. Just give it to me.
Well, we're going to get a little news soon, I think. I got just about a little under a month at this point. We're going to get some news, I think, for sure.
Shout out to my friend Reefton. I have been following his countdown of days till Star Wars Celebration since it began. And I believe it is on 24 days. 23 days. Celebration London 2023 countdown. Days until 23.
I'm very excited. Even though I'm not even going, I'm still as excited as you are, I think, for that at this point. But speaking of celebration, speaking of movies, the next bit of news, the title was Damon Lindelof's Star Wars script is ready with actors attached to be announced soon. This came courtesy of Jeff Snyder at the Hot Mic podcast, obviously. Jeff Snyder weighed in on the topic, and he said that the script is probably done at this point and states that it is 100% going to be the December 2025 film and that it will be announced during the next month's Star Wars celebration. In fact, he adds potentially that Lucas is going to be casting the female lead in the next couple of weeks and possibly some of the supporting cast as well so they can make a splash at the upcoming event where the title and logo could also be revealed. He went on at one point, and actually combining that with a different earlier topic, Jeff did say that Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm had a 5-year plan hammered out. Whether or not all that 5-year plan was going to be announced at Celebration or not was a different story. But the plan is supposedly in place. And I believe it. With Iger coming back and making the statements he's making, I think he does have that made. I don't think we get all 5 years at this point, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get more than one announcement at Celebration. That's my own thoughts. Your comment, your thoughts on what Jeff Snyder's saying.
I mean, we know Snyder, he's the best of what he does. I got to give him that. Like, I've never known him to miss on something. Mm-hmm. So when it comes from the mouth of Jeff Snyder, that's usually when my ears perk up. I'm like, oh, then maybe there's something to this. Mm. But yeah, we're all expecting it at this point.
Yeah,
and I feel like, and we've talked about this before, and we've said where there is smoke, there is fire. The whole thing with Yahya Abdul-Mateen, I'm hoping that's true. I love Yahya. I think he's a phenomenal actor.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, with Blade coming up, I don't know how that's going to work into his schedule because I think Blade's meant to be filming this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little hesitant on that, maybe. But yeah, if they're saying the script is done, actors attached, casting the female lead, hey, you got 23 days. You can book some flights.
Oh, that's absolutely going to be the case. I will say that, of course, I like to, calm my speculation down. We don't want to be involved as far as we don't want to get too hyped up and then have something not happen because that's just the way things have happened. I don't think is he in Blade?
I thought he was, wasn't he? Oh no, that was Mahershala Ali, wasn't it?
You think Mahershala Ali is Blade?
Yes.
Martine's not. Martine is. I think the only thing he has on the docket, as far as I know, is Aquaman right now, the second Aquaman, which is in post production at this point.
Yeah, I thought Mahershala was going to be in the next. Someone told me Mahershala was going to be in the next Venom, so that's why I was thinking that. Oh yeah, he's in the next Venom. Okay. I was like, wait, hold on, that can't be right.
Just checking. So I do think at this point, as much as I've been spouting caution and saying the whole time, let's be cautious, let's not get too overexcited. Even I, at this point, am saying we are definitely 100% getting a film announcement, at least one film announcement. At this point, I would be surprised. I would be surprised if it wasn't Damon Lindelof and that particular film. Do we get the actor? And is it Yahya Abdul-Mateen? I think that's lesser down my definitive list. I hope we get an actor. If it is Yahya, and I think it's a good chance it's Yahya, because again, where there's smoke, there's fire. I'd be very happy to have him in Star Wars. Very happy. So I do think it's that time's coming where we're not going to have to worry about it anymore. We're going to get the news we want at least. But
you know who they should cast?
Who?
Since he's not going to get a show in the other Lucasfilm universe he's in, Ke Huy Quan.
There you go.
That man is lightning hot right now.
He is. I would love to see him in Star Wars. Absolutely.
Yeah. If they're not going to do a short round show, which they keep saying apparently they're not.
I never say never about that. I say never.
I want it. That. I want it. Like I want a short round show. After seeing him and Harrison hugging the other night, I'm like, just bring the man back.
It's funny. Harrison Ford has said he's done with Indy after Indy 5, but I kind of almost feel like if they did something with Short Round, he would come back and do like, a cameo or a handing over of the whip and the hat, so to speak, to the Adventures of Short Round.
Has Harrison Ford? This is probably a question for our friends Paul Preston and Adam Witt. Has Harrison Ford ever hugged someone in public?
Like that? No, I don't believe
No,
so.
I don't think so. That was like a come here.
That was a very big heartwarming moment. Not gonna lie. So, all right, we have one final bit of news before we get into our reviews of the Star Wars television from today or from earlier this morning. This news involved. This is something I didn't want to bring up too much. It's a little bit of a negative story, but out of the negative story comes interesting tidbits for the universe.
Okay.
There was a producer on the Acolyte series who was fired or let go or something to that effect. I kind of avoided this race. I didn't really care to read the negativity about it behind it, to be completely honest. But I know that she has since sued Lucasfilm for wrongful termination. Lucasfilm has not commented on it yet, so we don't really have their side of things. Now, I think this kind of thing happens a lot, and so I think because of the recent, last couple of years spat of things being announced, things not developing, whatever, that's been much more prevalent in the news in Star Wars than any other franchise. I have a feeling this happens in MCU and other franchises all the time, but it's just not as focused upon. So I kind of just look at it as like, okay, well, there had a spat, whatever happened. Lucasfilm had their reasons, I'm sure. And she's disagreeing with them. Fine, there's some kind of spat. But reading this article, I guess the lawsuit did provide a few interesting details about the Acolyte. One specifically was that the Acolyte is planned to be more than one season. It's planned to be multiple seasons, which is the first time I believe we've heard that. Specifically, the quote said, however, the lawsuit to provide some interesting details regarding the upcoming series. For starters, it said that the series would require her to be overseas for at least a year and probably several years, hinting that there could be more than one season of the Acolyte planned out should it perform well. It's also confirmed at the end of page 4, and it says, McCarthy accepted Lucasfilm's offer in part because Lucasfilm had assured her that the story arc of the show, as well as the company's business plans, called for the Acolyte to run for multiple seasons. So, I mean, you could say that like if a show does well, it's going to get a second season. Obviously, that's the case. Almost always that's the case anyway. But for these types of shows, for the Marvel shows, specifically the Star Wars shows, they've been kind of like on a we're going to tell a story, and that might be that. So is this really a news bit? I guess it's a news bit that they have the potential already planned out. I mean, for example, Obi-Wan Kenobi was definitively, as far as I can tell, planned as a one season show. They might come back now because it did very well and move on and find a script. I mean, I think Ewan said something about finding the right story if it happened. But this seems different in that they're planning on a longer arc, which makes me happy. I'm actually very glad to see that. I know you are as a Dark Side fan.
You know what the news bit to come out of this is? There is still a chance for me to be in the Acolyte. there is still a chance, and you're telling me that, so you're telling me there's a chance. No, this stuff happens in the entertainment business all the time. Producers, directors, actors, whatever, musicians fall off.
Right.
There's a breach of contract. Someone gets sued. I can tell you exactly what's going to happen. This lawsuit's going to go forward. They'll settle it out of court. This producer will have to sign a confidentiality agreement. So she can't disclose anything about the project, what happened, the terms of the settlement, and then it all gets swept under the rug and we'll never hear about it again.
I guarantee that as well, almost definitively. At the end of the day, it's not going to end up taking a lot of real estate in my mind. And by the time the Acolyte comes out, we're like, oh yeah, I kind of vaguely remember that.
We're not going to be talking about some producer who was there for a couple of days and then, like those confidentiality agreements that they have in like Hollywood courts and stuff, and the Hollywood lawyers and everything signed, they are ironclad. I believe it was one. I'm not sure. They will be very well compensated. I know they said that they lost out on a big deal that was going to have them the high. Lucasfilm and Disney have that FU money. They have that Mickey Mouse money. That person is going to be very well compensated, and then we'll never hear about it again. And then the Acolyte will come out, and we'll all be very happy. And then casting calls will go out for season 2, and then I will be casting it, and then we will all be very, very happy.
Very, very happy indeed. Last bit I will say about this also, one thing I specifically want to mention, it was that exactly she was only there for a matter of a week or two, maybe 3 at the most, a couple of weeks. That's not like this is like midway through the series where she got axed or anything like that. So obviously, whatever happened, somebody didn't feel right, didn't feel like a good fit, and they got out of the situation soon rather than letting it linger. And that's to me, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So
you got a paid vacation to come over to the UK and work on a Star Wars show for a couple of weeks.
Hey, there it is.
What's the complaint?
Alrighty. Well, we'll do it for our news bits today. Let us now get into the shows. We had 2 episodes of Star Wars television to discuss last night. Mandalorian, season 3, episode 3, chapter 19 of The Convert. And then, of course, The Bad Batch, season 2, episode 13, 12, 13, 13, 12, 13. I can't remember now. 13. Pabu is the name of the episode. Let me see what number it was. 13th. Yes, it was the 13th episode called Pabu, which this is funny because The Bad Batch had released all its titles before the season began. We had this leaker what the titles were going to be. And we always got here. I was like, what the fuck is a Pabu? Oh, I get to find out today.
I thought it would have been like, I don't know, some kind of like pet that Omega adopts or something like that. But no, it turns out to be the most beautiful like island planet that's ever been in Star Wars. I keep thinking about it. I'm like, can I at least get a timeshare in Pabu?
Absolutely. Oh, they're going really cheap now after the incident. So it's actually funny. When I first heard of Pabu, I was like, are we going to Endor? Is that an Ewok we're going to talk to? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that was
or is it Jawa, maybe? And I finally get like my justice for Jawas.
But all right, let us talk first about the Mandalorian, the Convert. We always go in segments here on Holy Snokes where we break down the show in various segments before we wrap things up. The first segment, we always start every topic of conversation out. It is Hondo Watch 2023.
Who wants to see Hondo's book? Talk to me!
Does Hondo Ohnaka appear in this episode of The Mandalorian, which would make his first live action appearance ever, not counting Galaxy's Edge?
This effort is no longer profitable.
It goes on, my friend. It goes on. Is not stated. No appearance by Hondo Ohnaka here, unfortunately.
As the band on your hat once sang, the show must go on.
Indeed.
I mean, they keep giving us episodes where you could slide him in there. I mean, you're going to have someone steal Imperial tech from an Imperial ship. Who the hell else do you get?
That's what I'm saying. But
what are you going to do? You're going to go back and hire freaking, what's his name? Kale Organa, whatever that pirate dude's name was.
I'm not going to be Kale Organa. Screw that guy. Oh, well. All right. The next bit up is our mission briefing. No, it's not our mission briefing. This is the bounty.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
This is where I give you a quick summing up of the episode before we go everything further. We start, of course, which is actually bookended by Din and Bo's story. We start out with Din and Bo, obviously just having met the Mythosaur eye to eye, or at least Bo did. And Bo was very sneaky about making sure Din didn't see the Mythosaur, which kind of intrigued me a bit. What's going on there? He's got a little something ticking beneath the old night owl helmet there. But he recovers. They decide to fly back to Kalevala. On the way back, they are attacked by a fleet of TIEs. first wave and then a even larger second wave. Interestingly enough, they say something about warlords, about she was twerking off some warlords, but then they do make the point also that this is much bigger than most warlord fleets are,
He's a coming.
which I feel there's something a little more to that. Whether it be Gideon back or whether it be our main man, Grand Admiral Thrawn. I believe it's one of the two. I'm not sure which one yet, because that's a special note. We did have men that the rumor was made that Gideon escaped on his way to his war tribunal. So as far as we know, he is out there potentially somewhere. So unfortunately, these warlord TIE fighters destroy Bo-Katan's home, and they have to kind of make it out of there, be a quick escape, and they fly off eventually, as we see, to where the armorer and the rest of the converts are.
Before we move on real quick, this scene left me kind of bitter because that dogfight was so sick, and I feel like it was kind of like rubbing salt in the wound of like, hey, you guys ain't gonna get Rogue Squadron. But look what we could have done, because that moment, I'll leave it for seeing a lot of action.
Okay, that's fair. I will skip the middle section for this moment. Talk about the mission briefing at the end. We do have Bo and Din make it to the armorer and have a little run-in with Paz Vizsla. He proves it, I guess, that the living waters are a little magical, according to the armorer, because she can take it, throw it in something, and tell that it is from Mandalore itself. Not sure how that went down, but
reminded me of that the Harry Potter movies, where Dumbledore he pours the
Pensieve.
water in, and then is that what it's called?
Pensieve, yeah.
Thing, like that you can look in and like see all this stuff. But yeah, Paz was he was big mad. He was big mad.
Yeah, he was, absolutely. But the most interesting part to me about this is that not only is Din a Mandalorian again and into the crew, Bo-Katan was accepted as a member of the Children of the Watch. And what makes me most intrigued about it is it's either a strong coincidence that she hadn't taken her helmet off since then, or does she have a plan in place where so it seems like there's a little going on in that head. And I think she almost like, because last time she was so dismissive, and yet she doesn't take the helmet off. When Din says something about it, she says back to him, "This is the way," and like she's like buying in, which seems a little strange to me. So I kind of feel like there's something going on up there, but we will discuss that a little bit towards the end, I believe. That's where we end it.
She either had a come to Mythosaur moment, or we know Bo-Katan to be a very duplicitous young lady.
She's certainly had her moments of being a hero, and she's certainly had her moments of being a little less than a hero at times.
Guys, it's because we all know the armor's really Satine, and she didn't really die.
Is that what it is?
On the internet.
That is the theory. That is their theory out there, which, God, that'd be awful. That would really be awful as far as I'm concerned. But the whole middle part of the episode, though, was really the crux of the episode. It was an interesting structure. I kind of have the feeling this might not be as well received as some episodes because of how it worked out structure-wise. I actually highly enjoyed it. We get to look at Dr. Pershing on Coruscant, not Hosnian Prime, as some people thought has made a conjecture about it. Was Coruscant.
Yes.
Dr. Pershing getting reintegrated into the New Republic, meeting up with some other former Imperials, including Katie O'Brien's character, who had seen 4 or 5 times previously, but never got a name until this episode, Elia Kane. He's trying to reintegrate, but there's a lot of bureaucracy going on. It kind of reminded me a lot of Cyril and Andor, so it almost seems like the Empire and the New Republic may be a little bit of an old boss, same as the new boss kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy this very telling episode of the Mandalorian. Like that, I thought you'd like that. Yeah, there was a lot of like that building even looked like the building that Cyril worked in when he goes to her apartment. Yeah. Like that looks like Cyril and Edie Khan's apartment. But there was one part that really reminded me of a quote from Inglorious Bastards
Okay.
when they were all sitting in the courtyard of the Amnesty House. If you notice, they're all wearing the same uniform. And it really reminded me of that line from Inglourious Basterds where Lieutenant Aldo Rain says, "We like our Nazis in uniform. That's why we can spot them like that."
Like that. And not only that, which is a good point, not only that, but it really almost bothered me the fact that New Republic gives them numbers that are not named. Our amnesty officer G68, amnesty scientist L whatever 53 or whatever it was. Like the clones in a way, which we were supposed to get away from with the New Republic. So again, a little bit more of that New Republic, same boss as the old boss. Some things don't entirely change, even if there is some better intentions there potentially.
Different coat of paint. I mean, you had the big political elite. There was that very telling line of the Empire, Rebels, New Rebellion. I've lost track, so just keep quiet, and then like we don't get involved. And it's just like you have the big corporate elite, and even the Last Jedi even touched on it of like you have the Canto Bight, you have the big corporate elite that they don't care as long as their pocketbooks aren't touched.
Right. Absolutely, and it's definitely a social thing. You always kind of heard in the past, Empire bad, New Republic good, but struggling. But there is that elite we talk about that they're surviving no matter what's going on, and they might not believe necessarily wholeheartedly in the New Republic, but they'll hang out as long as they're getting paid still. So it makes it very interesting. Of course, you have Pershing, who is kind of a tragic character, as he definitely wants to help and wants to use his research for good, even if there is some questionable ethics behind some of it. I do believe that he has good intentions with everything he's trying to do. Obviously, cloning is a sore subject a little bit in the New Republic at this point, after the Bad Batch episodes we saw, obviously.
Can't be a coincidence.
Yeah, it's impressive how it just ended up being that way. I love the fact he dropped that episode a couple episodes back, and all of a sudden, the ripples are here. Kane, of course, is very supportive and very trying to push him to take charge, and blind following is what led them astray in the Empire, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know about you, but I kind of had the feeling something was up with her the entire time. And sure enough, after she leads him on a merry chase off the grid, out of the way to where they're not supposed to go, to get a mobile lab for him to continue his research, all of a sudden the security shows up and he is turned in by Kane. And then he undergoes a mind flaying of sorts. Supposedly it's not going to be a mind erase. It's just the way they've trained it so they kind of like can work on him and help him out supposedly somehow. And still seems kind of brutal. It still seems kind of not exactly what a high class society or republic would do. But then, of course, she gets her minute alone and she makes it worse by turning up the juice. And it looks like he is going to be potentially fried. And that's the sequence there, which is tragic for sure. Yeah.
Like PLD Project, she turned it all the way up to 11.
That's true. She definitely did like PLD Project, indeed. Yeah, it's interesting to see what's going on there, because I'll be honest with you, I don't usually at this point I can see the motivation and see what's going on. I'm not sure I see it here. I do think we're going to find out. I could say this for Force Vision, but I had a couple of Force Vision bits. I kind of feel like we're going to find out she is working for Moff Gideon still.
I'd save it because that kind of drips into my Force Vision.
Okay. Then we will save it for them.
Those questions will be answered.
Okay, we will do that then. Let's move on then to our next bit. The Mandalorian, the Mando of the Hour.
Let's just say they might recognize my face.
This is where we just pick our favorite character of the week, which is the one that really struck home with us. Maddie, who is your favorite character of the week? Who's your Mando of the Hour?
My Mando of the Hour is twice nominated, twice awarded. It's Bo-Katan.
Oh, there you go.
Bo-Katan. She has got something up those very armored sleeves. ever since her time in Death Watch, she has always been thinking 2 steps ahead
Right.
of her adversary. And Din is our resident village idiot. Of you see the videos of when Din Djarin not knowing he's in Star Wars for 10 minutes. like she pulled him out and she was like, "Did you see anything alive down there?" "Nope." "You didn't see anything move down there?" "Nope." Just saw the chasm. It's like, and she's just sitting there like, "You beautiful idiot."
Interesting. Yeah, I gotta say, I will toss out there. I love the fact that Paz Vizsla calls her Night Owl. That's a nice callback.
That was cool. Yeah, when he said that, I was like, "Oh, he said the thing."
He knows what she is, kind of thing, which is kind of cool. He doesn't specifically know her potentially because maybe he's too young for that aspect of it potentially. But yeah, I do like Bo-Katan. She was definitely a choice for me. I'm going to go with Miss Elia Kane. I just thought Katie O'Brien gave a really chilling performance. She kind of was seductive as hell. She put off this innocent vibe, but yet, even though I knew something was up with her, the performance behind it was very good. And then we get to the ending, and she's very chilling. And I like the fact that we've seen her a few times before and really don't know anything about her at that point. Because we really all her appearances were
last season.
probably like 1 or 2 lines total. I mean, she was in like 4 episodes, but she was always kind of like just at Gideon's side or near Gideon, and you'd see her like make communications. She didn't really say anything much, but I like the fact that we use her. And I don't know if it's the fact that she became more famous, like with Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, so they decided to give her more roles potentially.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's what she is. Yeah.
Oh.
So they decided to develop her because of that potentially. Obviously, same Disney family, so to speak, but I just really enjoyed her performance. I enjoyed what we got out of her. I do like a good spy story and a good betrayal story. So she was definitely fun to watch this week, even when she was being fun and when she was being, well, not so fun for Dr. Pershing, as you will.
She's a regular femme fatale. I knew as soon as she opened, when he walked away, like she opened the door and she kind of like just let it linger a little bit, watching him walk away. I was like, oh, something's going on there.
Using the yellow biscuits to lead Dr. Pershing down the path, so to speak.
That was fun. You know, she ate all the red ones too.
Oh yeah, of course. You don't see the red ones because they're already eaten. That's right. All right, let us move into the next segment here. We call this one, I Have Spoken.
I have spoken.
Favorite line of the week. Favorite line of dialogue. Could be something quip, could be something deep and meaningful. For me, there was no contest. It was Dr. Pershing looking at the Mon Calamari technician and trying to explain to him it was a trap. A little inside joke for the fans. I loved it. I know we're probably not supposed to really laugh at that scenario that's going on. Yet at the same time, it was so perfectly said, perfectly laid out, perfectly delivered to this said subject that I was like, yeah, it was. I love it though. How about you, man? What was your favorite line of dialogue this week?
See, this is I usually go with the comedy. You usually go with the deep and the somewhat the deeper meaning. Right. This time it's going to be me, and it's a line that I've already mentioned. It's the Empire, Rebels, New Republic. I can't keep track. That's why I just keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
It just shows that like the Republic, the Empire, the New Republic, whatever comes after the First Order, whatever comes after that, you're just putting a fresh coat of paint on the same problems. The same shady shit is still going on under the surface. The people at the top, they don't care about the people down at the bottom.
It's very true. It's very true. There's always someone. There are people who do. Of course, this is going all the way back since the Republic. Really, that's how Palpatine was easily able to take over as well as easily as he did. We always have people who are fighting. You got the Bail Organas, of course, and the Senator Chuchis and things of that nature. And I'm sure we have the Mon Mothmas and the Leias in the New Republic, so to speak. But yes, there are those sides that don't give a hell about what's going on, and they just want to make sure that they are staying in power themselves, and their personal lives aren't affected by all of this upheaval. I do like that line quite a bit, and that whole sequence was very telling, as you would say, definitely. So I like that. All right, let's move on then to the next category. Put that in your holocron and snoke it.
Do you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Welcome if you got him, boys. What is where we will take a deep look at something in the episode, something deep in the episode, something we want to look further into. What do we want to know more of that we haven't seen yet? And a lot of times, I know, for example, for myself, I will try to pick something out that's very not touched upon at all, but has a potentially deep background. This week it was a little different for me. I am picking something that I kind of think we are going to get eventually, but it still is what I want to look more into at this point from this episode. And I kind of touched on it already when Paz Vizsla calls her Night Owl. I really want to see. I need to see what happened with Bo-Katan. Like, we know her story from when she was at Death Watch, when she left Death Watch, helped Ahsoka take back Mandalore. We know her getting the Darksaber during Rebels and things of that nature. We know that it did not go well for her, but I want to see her history. And also, I want to see the history of the Death Watch. How did they become the children of the Watch? When did that happen? Did Death Watch completely die out after the Siege of Mandalore? And how did they become the children of the Watch? Was Bo-Katan perhaps involved? That's the one thing I wonder also. Did Bo-Katan actually help form the children of the Watch? Because she was part of the Death Watch and she left. Maybe but she might have missed the compatriotism, the camaraderie. Maybe after she wins, she decides to form up a good Watch group, so to speak. But obviously, she still splintered off at the end because it didn't mean enough to her. So, because she had to take her helmet off, things of that nature, they got too religious for her. Who knows? But I think there's a lot going on there that I want to find out more. I think we will get a lot of that because this appears to be a very Bo-Katan heavy season at this point. But give it to me. Give it to me now. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with you on that part because I've always thought of the Children of the Watch as like the boys and girls scouts of Death Watch. They were like the little kids running around in like spray painted like painted up cardboard boxes of Death Watch armor. Like they were the kids that like looked up to the Death Watch, and now like this is like their time.
Right.
The thing I want to see more of this, and I've touched on it already. The rich, powerful, corrupt elite. We've seen it like drip fed in Andor, in Mandalorian, in The Last Jedi. You have that one guy that's like the Outer Rim. I could never imagine, like so pompous, and he's like, "Did you know I was almost drafted?" Me, imagine, like you're more than happy to sell the weapons,
right?
But you wouldn't ever fire them. You would never like go to the front lines, and I'm just like, yeah, I want to see more into that. I want to see those people were definitely parents' friends.
Yes,
they were definitely parents' friends.
And I actually looked for Perrin at that point. Looking, is Perrin there? Is Perrin still around at that point? I don't know.
Yeah, but he probably had like front row seats in that. I love the Opera House, by the way. I love that we went back to the Opera House. That was so great.
That was nice.
I had a little honorable mention because I love that they went back to some Ralph McQuarrie art. The design of Coruscant, the mountaintop at street level in Coruscant. I was like, damn, I never thought there would be like nature underneath the city. I always thought of Coruscant as just like going down and down and down and down to like the depths and the dregs of society down there. It never like occurred to me there might be like nature underneath there.
Well, it's funny because I mean, when it has made an appearance, it was in the High Republic, The Last of the Jedi, or Light of the Jedi, I should say. That book, that moment's in there. It's got its appearances in different places, but it is kind of cool to see it in live action here, like that way. And I do find that to be very intriguing as well. It's like there is that part of Coruscant left untouched still. That's the peak of the mountain right there. That shows you how high up the city is at this point. God, it's pretty impressive. So, yeah, I agree. I like that. That's a wonderful idea. So, or a wonderful thought to see if we can touch further on. All right, let's get into our next segment. We mentioned it already earlier.
Hear a lot of carbon scoring here. Looks like you boys have seen a lot of action.
Seen a lot of action is where we talk about our favorite action beats, and honestly, we both have the same one because you already touched base on it a little bit, and I have the same one as well. Let's just get right into it. That TIE fighter dogfight, man. Old school Star Wars right there. I wish I could have seen that on the big screen, all surrounded, because those TIE fighters were just going nuts, flying through left and right. The lasers we saw, get to see some of the old school radar tracking systems and things like that. Din flying around left and right, dropping the speed. I love that.
Hit the brakes and it'll fly right by.
Absolutely. It always works every time. And Bo-Katan pulling off a similar maneuver at times. But
I was going to say that was the Top Gun Maverick, the 5th gen fight of when Maverick and Goose are like shooting at it and it stops midair and it just like rotates around. Yep. I was like, holy crap, that was that same maneuver.
My favorite part about the dogfight, I gotta admit, is that after they defeat the couple of times that chase them down. You see them bomb kind of like Bo's fortress or whatever, and she gets mad, pissed, and flies after them. Also, you look down at Din's screen, and all of a sudden, all the red dots are like, oh, you better get out of there at this point.
yeah. That's the point where you gotta leave as soon as you see. God damn, I just want to know who that was, because that even like looking at the horizon and seeing all the TIE interceptors coming in, and like how great is it to see TIE bombers as well? Yeah, just flying over. There seems to be this thing with TIE bombers and flying over Mandalorian like landscapes.
Yep,
that is just terrifying.
Absolutely. So yeah, that was definitely my favorite action bit. Yeah, it's a couple of other action bits in here. The train sequence was fun, of course, a little bit of the chasing down that. But overall, I agree. The TIE fighter dogfight, that's the one.
I gotta bring something up about that train sequence.
Okay.
The moment where they jump off, I can 100% guarantee you that they would they hit the crash pad. And like normally when you do stunts, you have a crash pad underneath you, and like you learn how to fall and everything. I promise you, they were like, it's black. They ain't gonna notice. Let's just leave it in there. It's a dark set. Let's just leave the crash pad in there. They ain't gonna notice. I noticed this straight away. I was like, oh, that was just the crash pad. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, I did notice it too. I was kind of wondering. In my head, I kind of like justified it as saying that because obviously. Kane was in this for a long time and had this all planned out that she actually had placed something there for this exact reason, knowing that they have to jump off early as part of her gimmick or whatever. So that's how I justified it in my head. I'm not gonna lie.
Pre-planned, yeah, could have been
a pre-planned thing, but yeah. Also, by the way, I love that creature. I want to see more of that creature. That was in the subway, the big large one. I don't know what creature that was or what kind of creature it was, but
we got a new Star Wars holiday as well, Bendu Day.
Yeah, I like that. That was a great mention of that. I was like, oh, Bendu Day, what is that necessarily?
It also means that like people know about the Bendu.
Yeah, that's just weird. I don't know if it's the same Bendu or if it's something different, or maybe the Bendu is something else. Maybe there's another meaning behind it, like besides the Force one. I don't know. Interested to see if we do find out more about that. I'm not gonna lie. It was actually pretty funny too. I know Brian Ward would get a kick out of this when they got into the train at first. For just a quick second, I almost felt like Kane and Pershing were going into Dex's diner. I kind of thought that for a minute. I was like, are we seeing Dex?
After Hondo Watch concludes, The next watch is Dex watch.
Dex watch. Poor Dex. We only ever got him in one movie, a few book appearances, but nothing else since then. So I would like to see more of Dex as well. I do love myself a little good Dexter Jester. So, all right, let's move on then to our next category.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
Laugh it up, Fuzzball, where we talk about our favorite comic moments of the week, our favorite ones that made us chuckle or perhaps even guffaw. Maddie, what was your favorite funny
Mine
moments?
was one that you actually picked on earlier, which is why I didn't elaborate on it. It was the Pershing looking at the Mon Calamari and being like, "It's a trap." There was a pause, like right after, where the Mon Calamari just looked at him like, "Bro, really? Like, you're really gonna say?" And like, there was just that pause of like this guy, and I love that. That Mon Calamari, he reminded me of like those old wartime PSA guys. It was like, "They're sending the Empire, son." like, "Fight for your country, son."
You're right. You're right.
You know, like the ones with like the old, like black
Right.
and white, like Grady footage.
Cereals.
It's just like, "Your country needs you, son."
Yeah, that was good. That was a good moment. In fact, I actually thought about picking it myself. I went with a line instead as my favorite line, so I didn't want to make it my line and my favorite moment. So I threw up another comic moment for me. I did like when Elia Kane made Dr. Pershing touch Umat, the mountaintop. Like, go ahead, do it. And the dread comes, says, "Please don't have any physical contact with him." I loved it, making
And
fun
we
of him.
also got Star Wars version of popsicles.
Yeah, what are those like kind of neon popsicles? I don't know if that's something I'd want to put in my body. It looks kind of like that's my first time. Like, dude, how much radiation is on this shit? Is this something good?
Yeah, how much sugar did you put on that thing?
That thing's fucking glowing, man. Too much. But it was kind of cute, kind of funny. I kind of liked it, like a little unique thing for it. So
It's not artificial colorings. That's radioactive waste.
Well, I guess they are former Imperials. Or they want to get rid of them slowly that way. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on then to parsecs out of 11, because we always, again, like we mentioned before, turn up to 11 here on PLD Projects.
It's a ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs.
This is where we rate the episode from 1 to 11. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm going to give this a solid 8.5.
Okay.
I thought it was very, very, very good. Obviously, we got all the crash bang wallop of everything Mandalorian, but go back to my Force vision of last week. I said that this episode, we're probably going to get more New Republic, maybe find out what happened with Moff Gideon. So I was kind of coming into this with a little bit of like pre-expectation that this was what we were going to get, because it only felt like it was right to take a little bit of a left turn.
Right.
It was very Andor.
Absolutely.
I'm always going to be up for that. So I kind of looked at it as if this, like Andor, is that first of the 3 episode arcs. Was like, now we have the setup to go into it. Like the first season of Andor, we got the big bang early on, and now we begin the setup.
I like it. I like it a lot. It makes sense to me. For me, I said it before, and I can't remember if I said it off air or on air, but I did feel like the rhetoric might be against this episode a little bit. And so because of that, I feel bad giving it a lower grade. But it was my favorite episode. I think it's an important episode. And I think in the grand scheme of things, we needed this episode to showcase, again, where the New Republic is at, where Moff Gideon and now Elia Kane are at. And I think it's going to highlight the importance of Dr. Pershing's work in the future. And there's a lot of setup with Din and Bo and how that thing going. But it's not one that at the end of the day, I'm like, I have to clamoring to rewatch it per se. So I'm glad I watched it, but I'm going to give this one a 7. I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 11. It's a good episode. It's an important episode, but it's not a great episode I'm gonna put in my top ranking, so to speak. So I think it's gonna at the end of the day be something that we're gonna definitely build upon, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a solid 7. It's a solid, good episode. Some great performances, some great moments. But yeah, that's where I'll leave it. So
Nice.
all right, last little bit before we wrap up. Of course, we do the Force Vision.
Premonitions? Premonitions.
This is where we look at it and take something from the episode and pontificate forward or premonite forward to see where is this going? What are we going to see? Whether it be next week, somewhere down the line, maybe 3 seasons from now, maybe in another series connected. But something in this episode has inspired you to see where we're going from here. Maddie, I'll let you go first since we were already mentioned yours before a little bit.
There was the line of Tanwi where in Bad Batch he said you must have you've got all the equipment, essentially all the gear and no idea.
Mm-hmm.
My Force Vision is that Kane is going right back to Gideon because all they needed Dr. Pershing for was to gather the equipment that they would need. They have no idea what they need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They probably figure out how it works, but they have no idea what they would have needed to complete the project. So I feel like her idea was, let's infiltrate the Amnesty Project because we know that's where he is. Let's get him. Let's pique his interest in getting back into the research. Go and get all the equipment we need, and then I'm gonna double cross him, fry his brain so we can't say anything to the New Republic, and then I'm gonna I wouldn't be surprised if next week we hear a thing of Elia Kane has escaped from the Amnesty Project.
I have 2 bits of Force Vision. They're both smaller, but very clear. I want to touch base on yours, for example, though, because I had similar thoughts. That is what I'm confused about a little bit. I'm confused about one thing. I think it's clear that obviously Elia Kane has not turned over a new leaf. She has not been reintegrated, as she so claims. I do believe she's working with Moff Gideon still. I believe Moff Gideon has escaped, and she is his right-hand woman, so to speak. I believe that's going on. I do believe it was under Moff Gideon's direction that we got Dr. Pershing back on his path of research and things of that nature. And I do think it was her that was supposed to get the mobile lab. I just don't see where we're going from here because I don't think the equipment is enough, and I don't think the research and the equipment are enough. I guess they might have other doctors, but it felt like that Moff Gideon was depending on Pershing himself, and Pershing himself being a smart scientist. So everything made sense up until she fries his brain. Ooh, you have that epiphany potentially. Looks like
We don't know what happens to Mount Tantis yet.
that's true. That's true. So maybe Moff
What if
Gideon
Pershing's not the only one?
What if Moff Gideon has found Mount Tantis now at this point, potentially? That is true.
Yo.
That is true. Maybe he has some doctors in there that can do it. He just needed the research itself. Because if she can get him out, she can probably crack his research for sure and get his information out and get the research from him and everything else to not worry about his conscience. So that might be the last we see of Pershing.
Or even if he just found out about Tantis and he's like, okay, who's left from Mount Tantis? If Mount Tantis is gone, who's left? Or maybe we know Thrawn is connected to Mount Tantis.
Yep.
And who is Gideon's higher? Yo, I think we just cracked it.
Could have cracked the connecting code. Gideon is working for Grand Admiral Thrawn, or in tandem with Grand Admiral Thrawn. Maybe that's the case it'll be.
That's why the Bad Batch is running at the same time.
Could be.
Oh.
Could be. Could be. It's an interesting concept there. I do like that. I do like that a quite a bit. So nice. Very nice. The last bit of thing I do want to say, I do have another slight Force Vision. I do want to know what Bo is going to do. She's got something up her sleeve, something involving, I think it seems to me like she's inspired again. She's like reawakened. She has no home to go back to now. She has no place to go sulk. So what's a girl going to do except maybe use the Children of the Watch to go back to Mandalore to somehow get that Darksaber from Din and ride the Mythosaur out of the living waters. I'm not sure how it's going to happen yet, but I think that's Bo's new plan. And of course, unfortunately, that means Din is going to have to fall somewhere along the way because she needs to win that Darksaber back. So I'm sure to see how her attempt goes down, but I do believe we're going to see an attempt by Bo, and she's going to go from hero and potential shipmate, as some Star Wars social media fans have pushed for, to again a potential rival and potential enemy at that point. So
there's that big old dum Has Vizsla. He was standing there looking at Din, and he was standing there looking at Bo. So I'm wondering if Bo is like, let me see if I can work this big idiot in here, because if this guy's stupid, this guy's definitely stupid. And I love the shot at the end of it's like the last shot of Bo looking at the skull on the wall.
Yeah. It's all about her rediscovering her purpose, and it involves that Mythosaur skull for sure. But that's going to wrap it up for Mandalorian talk. I believe. Any last bits you have on this episode?
Nope. It's everything for me.
All righty, sounds good. Let's move on then to the other show we watched yesterday, the 13th episode of the second season of Bad Batch. We, of course, are talking about Pabu. And of course, let's go back to our segments. We start, as always, with Hondo Watch here. Do we get Hondo?
Who wants to see Hondo? Talk to me!
Does he make an appearance in the Bad Batch? At least it'd be his animated self. Well,
this effort is no longer profitable!
Once again, we are left without seeing Hondo Ohnaka. Once again, there was definitely a specific time that we could have seen him numerous times in this episode, I feel. Would have been surprised to see him on Pabu, potentially helping supply the refugees for profit, of course.
For a small fee.
For a small fee, exactly. Or perhaps with fee in the...
you see what I did there? Small fee?
I like that. One of these days we will get him back. One of these days, but it is not. It is not this day.
Can you just imagine like him on the beach on Pabu? Which, by the way, I completely missed that. I thought Pabu could have been like an Ansalin, like the brother of Babu. Pabu freak.
Pabu freak.
But just imagine like Hondo in like a Hawaiian shirt, kicking up his feet on Pabu, just relaxing.
It would be brilliant. It'd be brilliant. I love it. Love it so much. But well, next time.
He loves a banquet.
He does love a banquet. Who doesn't love a banquet? Let's be honest. All right, let's move on then to this week's mission briefing.
What do you need, Rex? Any chance I could use you for a mission?
All right. This week's episode begins with yet another take on an Indiana Jones, honestly.
Temple of Doom, right?
When a fee is around, it seems that Indy comes out and plays. We have basically the opening act, Club Obi-Wan, of Indiana Jones Temple of Doom, where Fee and Omega are meeting up with a Lance Crowder, who is a some kind of underworld figure. They're negotiating over some, let's say, ancient wonder that Fee has liberated again.
Liberator of ancient wonders, yep.
And of course, there's a double crossing here. There's attempts to poison. The Bad Batch is brought as muscle and backup, and a firefight ensues. Great action piece there before they get out and they fly off, thanks to Tech saving the day as always after playing with himself. No pun intended. That just was him, the droid. He was just, yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Hey, he won't be playing with himself for much longer.
That is very true at this point.
Like, Tech, my man Tech is the original Star Wars Mr. Steal Your Girl.
And he doesn't even know he's doing it. That's the thing. Well, they get away and they're flying off. We get a message from Sid, and obviously it's been a while. So I'm not sure exactly the time frame. I'm not sure exactly how long.
Wasn't like 20 rotations, I think she
20
said.
rotations since they last spoke with her. So I'm not sure how long that is and compared to where Crosshair was and how long Crosshair was out before he woke up at Mount Tantus, for example. But yeah, Sid. They haven't seen Sid in 20 rotations. Sid's getting pretty pissed. Fee is pretty surprised to hear that they broke up with Sid, so to speak. Kind of like, oh, that's interesting. And she helps them out by taking them back to Pabu, which is obviously for her. I don't know if it's necessarily her home, but it's kind of like a home base for her partially. She visits there a lot. She delivers a lot of her ancient wonder artifacts there to refugees from all over the island. Exactly. She does say Auntie Fee. We get to meet some characters, some great characters. Shep Hazard, a great, the mayor of Pabu. I do like him, of course, and Liana Hazard. After Fee brings up the point, something that's been kind of talked about a few times during the series. The point is Omega a soldier? Is she a kid? We know she's doing well at the soldier bit, but she's still a kid that needs to have kids around. Fee sees that and obviously delivers to her Liana Hazard, the mayor's daughter. So it's an interesting sidebar. They basically go there. They're very well received. They're very welcomed. It's kind of a different change of pace. Usually you can't see these hive of scum and villainies across the galaxy. This is a very righteous, happy place. Everybody's happy to help each other out. There's big feasts to be had. Wrecker is very thankful for that, as always. There's some great moments throughout where you see the Bad Batch feel like they could actually settle here potentially. It feels like this could be a settling place because they're a place without a crew without a home. They have no real future in store. So maybe this is the place for them, and let Omega be a kid. Maybe they can get away from the war for a little while, or war zones. It feels nice. And then, of course, the shit goes down, as we knew it was going to in some way, shape, or form. But it comes into the form of an environmental disaster, some kind of tremors, earthquakes, sea strikes, etc., etc. And then the rest of the episode is basically the Bad Batch saving as many people as they can, as well as saving Omega and Liana, who, of course, was out on the sea when the seas start striking. They save the people, although much of the place is damaged. And at the end of the episode, we're left with the Bad Batch and Hunter stating that they are going to stick around for a little bit, maybe help them rebuild. Sounds about right. Anything else I missed on our mission briefing here?
One thing I want to bring up is, guys, Pabu resonance. Look at me real quick. When you build a drain that goes into the sea, you're not supposed to have it face the town. You're supposed to have it face out to the water, not so the big gust of water can come through.
That's fair.
Major design flaw, but I totally agree with you. And I think it's kind of maybe a bit of a hint at something, because we're getting to the end now. We've only got a few, like 3 episodes left. We got 1 week and then the 2-episode finale. Maybe this is where the clones settle down. Maybe this becomes one big clone party island.
Yeah, it could be, especially considering we don't necessarily know if there is a season 3. This could be the end of the Bad Batch. We don't really know. I would be sad. I would hope that I've been hoping for a season 3. I think there's a lot of stories we could still tell. Maybe this is a false ending, so to speak. And maybe we revisit Pabu the end of next season after the show ends, potentially. But you're not wrong. This could actually be a sign of what happens and what's to come. But all right, let's move on to our Bachelor of the Week.
I was hoping for the whole squad, but you'll do.
And this is where we pick our favorite character of the week. It's obviously Mando of the Hour for Bad Batch. Who was your Bachelor of the Week, Maddie?
Multiple-time nominee, multiple-time winner, star of this show, my man Tech. He saved the world. He got the girl. He didn't even try doing it. He's the man. But now I'm terrified. What have I been saying since the start? They keep, like, the first season, we didn't get a lot of Tech. Now we're getting a lot of Tech. and like Tech is that moment where like we just see that smile on his face. Tech never smiles, and he smiled at a pretty girl.
Yeah.
And he's starting to like this pretty girl. And he's found this place where he can be himself and he can help these people rebuild because that's what he's good at, building things.
Mm.
Filoni, you son of a gun. If anything happens to him, if I see you at Celebration, I'm going to slap that hat right off your head.
Dave, you better hire some Mandalorians to guard you at this point.
Paz Vizsla himself, Jon Favreau, won't be able to protect him if anything happens to Tech.
That's a fair point. I did love Tech's development this episode as well. I'm actually going to agree with you. I'm going to go right to that. I agree with you too. Tech was mine as well. And because it was kind of unexpected. Obviously, we had our moments with Tech earlier where Fee had been flirting with him, but he really didn't understand it per se. Brown eyes. We obviously had the moments with him and Omega in the caves where he discussed his potentially neurodivergency and how he processes things differently. We get that moment where she definitely gives him that kind of like feeling of like she's attracted to him. And he has that great moment where he just turns back, looks at her for just a moment, and does give a little smile, and they obviously work together with the ladders and everything else. It does feel like a nice little connections made between the two. I do also think that that means something bad is happening, but we'll get to that a little later on. I'll talk about that a little bit.
I can't put that energy out into the world right now. I can't.
Dave can't let everybody be happy. Come on now. Can't let anybody be happy. But all right, let's move on then to our next segment. We call this one I Spec.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Now get out of here.
Favorite lines.
Sorry, just give me 2 seconds. I just gotta go quiet the dog up.
Okay.
Right. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I'll start. Actually, I'll play the I Spec again. And we'll go from there. Let me wait for like 15 seconds so I can kind of time code it.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Now get out of here.
Of course, this is our favorite lines of dialogue from the week. Again, like I mentioned before for Mandalorian, the quips could be something meaningful, something deep. And again, I went with a quip this time. My favorite line of dialogue this week was Wrecker in the cold open for Indiana Jones on Temple of Doom. All of a sudden, Mr. Crowder says, well, you should have brought more muscle. And that was, of course, Wrecker's cue to stand up. She did.
She did.
Crack, crack, crack. Yes. Loved it. Loved the great moment to set off the great action sequence we got there. Did love it.
Yeah, Wrecker was just the comedic gem that he always is. He has the moment at the banquet where he's like, I never fall. And then the server brings out the dessert and he holds it up, like he lifts the thing up and he goes, I love this place. Yeah,
I thought before he might end up on the Wookiee homeworld because he got along with them. This might be actually he might be wanting to stay here at Pabu now. After that,
yeah. I mean, with all that food, like you said, who doesn't love a banquet?
Absolutely,
like, that could be right at home. But mine is actually Tech.
Okay,
like a line from Tech where he says, "Yes, I am playing games myself. It is the only time this game is a challenge." Again, that unintentional dry comedy. It's perfect.
It's so Tech. It's so Tech. I love it.
Honestly,
so much.
Used to be my favorite member of the Bad Batch. Now I think it might actually be Tech.
I get that. I totally get that. I think I still like Wrecker the most, but I get what you're saying. I like the good thing about the episode. I mean, about the show rather, is that they are there has been some, accusations or whatever about them, like not developing Epico so much. They didn't develop tech enough at some points. Now tech is getting his development. I think that they've done a pretty good job giving everybody their moments to shine, so to speak, with what they do. Even Hunter had a great moment today when he kills off the colon, the same bug that was poisoned. With
Stick around moment.
Yeah, so perfect.
Stick around.
So perfect. That's so good. They all have their moments, and they always they all have their places to shine, and I like that they do that. But yeah. All right, then let's move on then to the next segment. The put that in the holocron. Put that in your holocron and snoke it.
Do you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
This one is actually for me. This is where we, again, like we said, we take a look at something in the episode and want to deep dive into it a little bit further. This is actually sort of reminiscent to our last run with Fee. Obviously, she always has these great adventure stories. The Archeum. I want to know what else is inside that place. I want to see some of the adventures of some of the treasures of the galaxy, so to speak. Is there stuff in there that we know about? Stuff in there from like the High Republic era? Stuff that's maybe from different galaxies? Some Kaminoan things potentially? Who knows? What's in store there? And maybe I didn't see it or not, but I don't know if that was saved or not. Was that part of the damage done? Hopefully not. I did think it was higher up, so hopefully it survived the water. I don't know. But that's what I want to know more of. Let's get into that Archeum and see what else is in there.
Yeah, that is a great one because, and like you said, I hope it didn't get destroyed because we've seen back to back like natural disasters in both of these last two episodes, and it's kind of like almost like a metaphor for like the Bad Batch. They're still running from something. Yeah. They may have found this paradise, but they are still running. They're not only running from the Empire, but they're running from Sid.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think mine's kind of more basic. Just give me more beachfront property. Star Wars. I would love like a show like Beachfront Bargain Hunt, where like you just go like have someone like, I don't know, maybe Dex, just like giving a tour of like all these beachfront properties. And they have just like random people buying it. I don't know. It's just there was that one shot as well of like where you could see the entire bay, and it was at night as like the sun goes down. That is some of the most beautiful animation I've ever seen. Because it actually made me be like, damn, I want to go live there.
It is spectacular, not gonna lie. Absolutely. We do maybe some House Hunters Star Wars style.
Yeah. Give me porn stars, give me House Hunters, just give me like all the crappy daytime TV shows but set in Star Wars.
I'm all about it, man. I'm totally all about it. So
Antica Roadshow. Come on.
Absolutely. There's the Archeum right there. Luthen can host that. Luthen, I mean the flamboyant Luthen, though the show Luthen that we'll see, not the yelling at you Luthen. That's not the one you want hosting the show.
You can have like a Hell's Kitchen with Dex as the host.
Yeah. Oh come on, that'd be brilliant.
Dex is like the Gordon Ramsay of the show.
Idiot sandwiches together to have forearms to do
it. What are you? An idiot. You're an idiot sandwich. Like it's four loaves of bread instead. Yes. It's perfect.
An idiot submarine, India hero kind of thing. Yeah, I love it. Let's definitely do that. All right, let's move on to our next segment here. Of course, it is seen a lot of action.
Hear a lot of carbon scoring here. Looks like you boys have seen a lot of action.
I'll give it to you, my friend. What was your favorite action bit of the episode?
I mean, I mentioned it already, but like you guys know, I mentioned in previous episodes, I love to collect knives. So when Hunter, like, without even look, he just no-look threw the knife, and the Cahoon was like in the wall,
right?
While it was like just about to like go around the corner, around the edge of the chair, boom, knife. Right. I was like, oh. That was awesome. And just like Wrecker being a big like hulking giant is just like when Wrecker stands up, like Wrecker doesn't even have to do anything, just stand up. You're like, okay, shit's about to go down. the big man's getting up, and now you're in trouble.
Now you're all in deep trouble. Absolutely. I almost put just the whole indie cold open thing. I love the Omega getting in on the action. There's a lot of fun blasting points at that point. Chaotic energy there, of course. But the one moment I really kind of liked, just because I thought it was kind of cool, was Tech and Fee during the crisis. And they do the whole, we got to get the ladders out. And they shoot the grappling gun up. They both go up there, and they have to like force it open. And
the grappling hook, and like he's holding onto it around the waist and goes
like
like, yeah,
like that's pure hero behavior right there.
You old dog.
I loved the ladders themselves, kind of thing. I kind of like that they were rusted out. It kind of like seemed like it really lived in place. It kind of felt like it was not just put in there. Kind of like thought was behind that, and they get open, and they just pop out and come out. I like that aspect of it. It was a kind of cool little fun little unique action beat. We don't get to see much of that during this show. We get to see a lot of firefights here and there and dog fights and things like that. But it's kind of a nice little traditional swashbuckling adventure moment, which I really appreciated.
Only Helm's Deep would have thought of the same thing.
I know, right? Come on now.
That's 2 Lord of the Rings references from here, like back-to-back weeks. What is going on?
What the hell is happening to you, Matty Gunner? What the hell is happening to you? All right. Next up, of course, Laugh It Up, Fuzzball.
Laugh it up, Fuzzball.
All right. For me, we kind of mentioned this before. Sort of. It's actually another line. It's another record line, but we didn't specify this one during our conversation about dialogue. When Fee and the group get there, and of course Shep Hazard comes in, and Fee gives him this big hug and everything else. It's just Wrecker who just turns and goes, "Oh, you got some competition." And Tech's like, "What are you talking? What are you talking? I don't get what you mean."
I'm clueless.
But Wrecker sees it. Everybody else sees it. It's perfectly Wrecker. It's perfectly Tech. It's perfectly Fee. It's perfectly everybody. It's just a great moment of comedy for me. I loved it.
Yeah, that was great. It's funny you say that because mine is also a Wrecker moment, but it's just a tiny moment. It's right after everything's happened, and Wrecker's just laid passed out up against the tree with the 2 kids. Like the 2 kids are asleep, then you just see massive Wrecker next to him, just like.
Tech him out or wake him up or something. Feels like, just don't bother.
Just leave him. Just let him sleep. Let the big man child sleep.
I love it. Awesome. All right, then we're gonna rate this episode of Parsecs out of 11.
It's a ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs.
Out of 11, where do you rank the Bad Batch episode, my friend?
I give this a solid 8. This was really great. I love these kind of episodes. These like little off the beaten track, but still have like some minuscule ties, the big themes and everything. I do like. I really enjoy these episodes. A lot of people, we call them enhancement episodes, and a lot of people use the F word, not the F word that I like to throw around at least maybe like 3 times a minute. But yeah, I really enjoy these, and like just seeing the Bad Batch like relax. Like this is everything Hunter wanted.
Yeah.
Like he's got it, but he's about to be ripped right out of it.
I think so too. I likewise gave it an 8. Same exact reasoning behind it. I do think, kind of like the Mando discourse, I kind of feel like there's going to be a lot of people out there who are going to dismiss this episode. And I will say, I can't like entirely blame them. After last week's episode, and we only had 4 episodes left, I was surprised to get this kind of episode now. Of course, next week's episode is called Tipping Point, so I kind of feel like that's a signal that shit is really going to start going down now. But it was nice to have this episode as a hint of what could be if everything went right, even though it usually does not go right, and where it could go from here. I enjoyed the adventure. I love the indie cold open. Give me that Annie every time. Give me that action sequences there. I liked exploring Omega, seeing a different side of her, seeing the kid side of her. She got to play with a child. It was like, this is what Omega's missing. It kind of like, if we don't get to see Omega get this kind of time, we don't understand how she's missing it when she's off being a soldier. And everyone else, you had to see Hunter kind of feeling relaxed for the first time in a while. Wrecker having grand old time. Tech doing his tech things, and it's really kind of enjoyable for that. There's a lot to like from this episode, a lot of groundwork being laid. I do think at this point we're going to have a rush towards the end there. It's going to be, obviously, next week's episode will be a big one up into the 2-part finale. So yeah, solid 8 for me. I get why people wouldn't like it. I get why people might want to turn it off or not watch that rewatch. And you know what? It might not be for everybody, and that's okay. That's okay. But if you're there to get the feeling of family, it's showcasing the what ifs, the amazing things that people, when they get together, how they can persevere. I mean, let's look at that. Nobody died. These refugees who were driven from their home by the Empire, and they found this place, and yet they're still being ground upon. Even the weather is against them. You see them having their moments at the end where, like, the couple is very sad while Fee gives them a blanket and things of that nature. They still persevere. That's what Shep says it best. My people are resilient. We can rebuild, and we will rebuild. And the Bad Batch is there to help them, because that's what the Bad Batch is there. Like I said before, in the episode where we had the episode in the Ipsium mines, the Bad Batch isn't there to solve the big problems. They're there to help this place out. They're out to help, Pabu out rebuild. The 18, they're going to be there at this point. So I love it. I think it's a great place to have. And as long as you don't expect like mind-blowing big galactic moments every week, I think you can find a lot to love in watching the Bad Batch. So I hope everyone takes that into account and keeps it up, because you do get your big moments as well, but these are just as big in different kinds of ways.
Man, everyone wants the storm without realizing you need the calm to come before it. Mm-hmm. This is very much the calm before the storm, because now they're like, guys, look, this, like Hunter said, when has Hunter ever wanted to stay in one place?
Right.
And now he's found this place, and he's like, guys, let's stay here. Like, let's stick. When he said let's stay a while, what he meant was let's stay here.
Yeah,
like,
let's settle in.
We got it good here.
Yeah, let's settle in. He knows they might not be able to stay forever given their situation, but let's try it out. Let's see let's try this shoe on and see how it fits, so to speak. All right, last segment of the evening here. This is, of course, Force Vision.
Premonitions?
This is where we look at something in the episode and we extrapolate it out. That was what I was looking for earlier, and I said something different like pontificate, and I was completely wrong and just sped through. But now I pointed it out, so you'll go back and watch it now, and you'll see that I fucked up.
That, my friends, is what we call a callback.
This is where we extrapolate something and we talk about the future. I have an interesting one this week. I'm going to throw it by you. And it combines everything we've talked about today. I think there's been a lot of setup that's been leading us down one path. And I think the Man in the Hat, and it's not even the Man in the Hat because he's only really executive producing at this point. This one's more Brad Rao and Jennifer Corbett. I think they're going to do like Dave would do, though, and pull a rug out from under us. Obviously, we saw Sid briefly. And Sid even made those threats about, don't make me turn you in.
Smell that?
What do I smell?
It's a rat.
It's a rat. You know what, though? I'm going to break your heart right here. Fee's going to turn them on.
No. You think?
I have this feeling that Sid is really a changed person at heart, that the Bad Batch has changed her overall. We've been given all this like rope to say, oh, Sid's going to turn them in. Sid's going to turn them in. Fee has been their lifeline in bringing the Bad Batch into this place where they could be at home. She's got Tech falling in love with her. She's got Omega looking up to her. She's a pirate. She's a pirate at heart. She knows she can turn them in. I think that she's gonna kidnap Omega and take him. She's gonna have her tip of her team. She's gonna take Omega, bring her to Mount Tantus herself for a price.
Never trust a pirate.
Never trust a pirate. See what I'm saying? I think you're gonna see Fee turn on them because we don't know Fee really well. We just know that she likes adventure. She's a liar, We know that she likes lying. We know she does that kind of thing. And I think she's going to be kind of like Hondo-esque in a way. It's all about profit. It's all about what she can do for her. That she's going to turn and use. She even needles it with Sid. She turns Sid against him. Oh, it's not good. It's not good. Not good. And Sid's not good. And then at the end of the day, I don't know if Sid's going to be the one to help him out, maybe, but I do think that Fee is going to, and that's why Pabu is going to, this is why, especially when we go to season 3, Pabu is going to be soiled for them in that way because Fee is going to kind of break them of it. And that's why we're going to have to, the end of the episode is going to be the rest of the batch having to go to Mount Tantus to save Omega and somehow also meet up with Crosshair at that point. So that's where I'm going to go. And that's my vision. I could be wrong. I love Tech and Fee. I think Tech's going to get his heart broken. So he's not going to die.
No.
He's going to get his heart broken.
Hey, no. I mean, I get it. Our first love always breaks our heart. But don't do that to my man. Tech, like, he's just figured out how to smile at a woman, let alone talk to one, let alone try to, like, at least let my man experience that before you pull the rug out from under him. But I feel like, okay, it could be Fee. I'm sticking to my gun. I think Sid rats because that's what Trandoshans are. They are despicable, disgusting, snidey pieces of shit. And I feel like if there's one person that knows where Fee is going to take them to be under the radar, I feel like it would be Sid. I feel like Sid knows about Pabu, and I feel like Crosshair's going to come looking, and that's where Sid's going to send him, because I'm still under the impression that Crosshair is going to become the first Death Trooper. He's going to have his mind wiped, and what better heartbreaking way than to send Crosshair to the Bad Batch? We're thinking, oh, Crosshair's here. We're going to have a reunion. Like, they're all taking, no. He's there to kill everyone on the island and kidnap Omega and then get the hell out.
Well, regarding Sid versus Fee, I'm going to bring up another Lord of the Rings quote.
Uh-oh.
I think a servant of the enemy would look fairer and feel fouler. I think that Sid looks the part of a villain, smells the part of a villain, which is why she's not going to be the villain.
She looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, parent smells like a Trandoshan.
It's not. It's going to be, you're going to be a dog at that point. I don't know. I just don't know. I feel it. I feel it in my bones. I feel it in my bones.
If it's going to be a dog, at least let my man Tech be a dog for a minute. All right? Let him. Oh! Let him have his fun. Let him have his moment. All right, she's going to break his heart. But then, like, if she breaks his heart, she better die. If she's going to break Tech's heart, you got to die.
I don't want her to. I think it's actually going to be great to have her in the universe. So we have her like breaking. I think she could be very much a Hondo-like character in a way. Like she's
Hondo wouldn't break Tech's heart. Hondo is a gentle lover.
But he would betray them. He would still betray them, and then come back the next time and help them out whenever it's
like a stray dog. Like this is an excuse that I have used many times over my life. He's like a stray dog. Like he may go missing for a while, but he will come back. He will come back home to you.
I think that's what Phil will do too. It's not personal. It's business. It's business, Maddie. I'll come back to you later on after having money.
Like he's a sweet boy.
And all sweet boys have to get their hearts stomped on now and again. All right, my friend. How about you? Let's get into your Force vision of the week.
I mean, yeah, I think Sid, as I said, Sid's gonna rat, and Crosshair's gonna come right to Pabu.
Okay. All right.
He's not gonna be of sound mind and thought. He's gonna be all death trooped out, and they're gonna send him right to him. And to which point they're gonna be like, follow him where he just went. Follow him. And then that's going to lead them right to Tannis. And maybe we pick up Rex, Cody, and Echo along the way.
Oh yeah, I think we're going to see them for sure at the point at the end, especially if it's the end, which I don't know. Again, we don't know. We just don't know. Hopefully, get that announcement soon. All right. Any last bit from this episode, or have we touched base on it all? You think? Are we good?
No, I think we're good.
All righty, then that, my friends, is where we will end our episode. Another great episode with Maddie. Another great episode talking about Star Wars. We do, of course, we'll be back next week. Hopefully on Wednesday, too. I am on call next week, so my job's always kind of weirded out. So hopefully I won't be called in during our regular scheduled shooting session here. But we'll definitely get an episode out. We'll figure something out because we're going to be talking about these next episodes, of course. Absolutely. These are going to be big time episodes. I can't wait to talk about them as well. I can find me at Paul and Scordanuzio on Twitter, and you can find me every week here on Holy Snokes. You can find me every other week on Class Action with Maddie and Derek Jarvie. You can find me every other week with PJ Campbell on Two Mediocre White Dudes on Film. We got Crown Jewels, A Journey Through Queen. Got the Harristons coming, where I go through Ed Harris's IMDb credits. We have review. My first episode of review is going to come up on Tuesday, where I have a very great conversation with Kenneth Johnson, the writer, creator, director of the original V miniseries. You also know him as the creator and developer of the Incredible Hulk TV series from back in the 70s, as well.
That's the Lou Ferrigno one, right?
Yes, the Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby one. Yeah, absolutely. Also directed Short Circuit 2 and Shaq's Steel. A bunch of other things. We get to talk about a bunch of things with involving V and that nature. So stay tuned for that. And of course, patreon.com/PLD Projects. Got to shout out Maddie Kearns, Brandon Buckingham, Jeff Alterman, John Lestrina, everyone else. I could not do it without you. So I really, truly appreciate your support. And speaking of support, if this is your first time here, click that like, click that subscribe, click that bell. We are up to 370 subscribers. It's a slow march to 500, but we are getting there. Anything you can do to help share the news, help us out. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. And stick around for more great Star Wars content.
Stick around.
And Maddie, how about yourself?
You can find me on Twitter at Maddie Gunner, Instagram Maddie_Gunner. You can find my band Mourner, MOURNER, on all DSPs. New song, The Axe Forgets, inspired by Star Wars, inspired by Andor. April 7th, I will be at Celebration, possibly doing a single release thing in the evening. Maybe I'm still trying to work that out. But yeah, I'm gonna have free Mourner stuff. If you see me at Celebration, just say, hey, I'm a size this t-shirt. I'll give you t-shirt. I'll give you some stickers. I'll give you badges, whatever. Just join, celebrate Star Wars, celebrate punk rock. It's a beautiful, beautiful mix that a lot of people don't really see a lot of. So, yeah, I'll be there for that. You can find me every week here on Holy Snokes, every other week for Class Action, and every Monday and Friday for the ONU MMA show over on the Wild Jones Podcast Network. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff.
Yeah, and of course, you mentioned Celebration. We are going to, we're not going to have scheduled bits, but we are going to have some news bits. Maddie's going to try to keep me informed, and we'll try to go live a few times, maybe some interviews, maybe at least some panel summaries and things of that nature. So keep an eye, like I said, hit that bell. You might get some firsthand news from the floor of Celebration Europe.
If I don't get into a panels, you will definitely see me live on the scene for the first ever. And this is confirmed that it's going to be happening. The first ever, not the running of the hoods. No. The Narkina prison run is going to be happening at the XL Center. I will be live. Yeah, go.
Can you swim?
Maybe. But I can confirm there are 4 ways out. 4 ways out of the XL Center. So we got more to choose from. But there is only one way out of the show.
And that's like this. May the Force be with you. Always.